Indie gaming fans, the spooky season is upon us, and with that comes some scary games. The ex-hardcore gamer here to talk to you about the latest port for Omen of Sorrow. Omen of Sorrow is a horror-themed fighting game that was originally released on the PlayStation 4 in November of 2018, followed by a PC release on the Epic Game Store in July of 2019. A Steam version is said to be coming soon, but for today's review I will be talking about the Xbox One version. Right away when playing Omen of Sorrow, you will see its many influences that it proudly wears on its sleeve. Alright, fine. That's just a really nice way of saying that there's a lot of stuff that this game ripped off. I mean, I get it. It's a fighting game, so you're gonna see some similarities from other games. You're gonna have a 4-button control scheme and quarter circles to do special moves, but they definitely get very liberal with their borrowing from other things. Especially with this being on the Xbox One, you're more than likely going to be a fighting game fan for that platform, which means you've more than likely played Killer Instinct. Right away on the main menu, you're going to see your little title card that looks very similar to the one used in Killer Instinct. You're also going to see fighters that remind you of characters in Killer Instinct, even down to the animations used. You can make or break a fighting game just based on whether or not the characters are somebody that someone would even want to play as. The developers at Chilean studio A1 Games have decided to go with a classic horror theme based on both literature and mythology. This means you'll get classic literary characters such as Quasimodo and Frankenstein's monster, or a mythological creature like Imhotep, but also some not-so-known people like Radagonda. It would be one thing to have some throwaway characters if you had a large roster of fighters in your game, but unfortunately, Omen of Sorrow, we're only looking at about 12 to choose from. We have had 12 fighter rosters since Street Fighter II Champion Edition, so really in 2021, we really should have something more. Each character does have their own story, but it only boils down to one page of text as you start the arcade mode, and that's it. There aren't even different endings based on who you play as no matter which character you choose, the ending will just say, "Thanks for playing." I know that a fighting game really doesn't need to have a robust story to really make people want to play it, but it is something that some players look forward to, and I expect a bit more than just one page of text. Alright, so let's put those things aside because maybe they're not that important to you. Unfortunately, the gameplay probably won't satisfy you either. It does have a 4-button control scheme with 1 button for each limb and your standard special moves that you'll immediately know how to do, but they're not all that fun to pull off. There's more than one move with many of the characters that just don't seem like they would be all that useful when fighting somebody. Either they just have to be way too close of range, or it's just an odd angle that you really wouldn't think to attack somebody at. The most common culprit of this would be definitely jump kicks with many of the characters, as you have to be way too close to even hit the character and it's not a great way to start a combo. A lot of the animations that are used in the game are also very jerky and almost look incomplete, which can really throw off the flow while you're playing as well. I almost thought that the game was glitching at first until I realized that it consistently did it every single time I did the move. Before you go and think, oh, you just didn't learn how to play the game, I did go through many tutorials, and you shouldn't have to know every in and out of the game to be able to have some fun with it. There are definitely some positives where they try to do some unique things like being able to reward you for being more aggressive in your play, but for the most part, it just fell flat for me. Omen of Sorrow does have your standard arcade and survival modes as well as versus, but that's it. After completing the arcade mode a couple of times and unlocking more characters, you're basically left with just playing more to get new titles and character costumes and colors. That's about it, not a whole lot to sink your teeth into. As this was a review, I wasn't able to test out the online play, but playing locally, anybody that I tried to get to play with me just was not having any fun either. The graphics are definitely a mixed bag as well. I already mentioned the jerky animations, but on top of that, you're going to get these strange visual effects that look like something straight out of a PlayStation 2 game. Anybody who's played a game that had a weird 2D sprite that was thrown into a 3D game that had a lot of pixelation and just looked very low resolution, that's what you're going to see here with the little lightning bolt and fire effects. These happen constantly, and not just with special moves, they'll happen with the basic moves as well. I feel this may be due to just being a base Xbox One version with no Xbox One X or Series X enhancements. When I watched video clips of the PlayStation 4 version, it didn't seem to have any of these anomalies. It seems like most of the effort and work went into doing the opening animations of the fights because those will zoom in and you'll see a lot of detail. But once the actual fight starts, it gets a little bit blurry. In the sound department, you're just going to get your usual fighting game music and sound effects that just get overly repetitive, including an announcer that will constantly yell out every time you do a counter. I was quickly annoyed while playing and just turned everything down and listened to other music on my computer. I know we can't expect all the looks and polish of a AAA game when playing something that's an indie release, but there are definitely some bare minimums that I think that we need to hit, and Omen of Sorrow does not do that. Its clunkiness and lack of polish is just overall magnified by the fact that this game came out almost 3 years ago on the PlayStation 4 with nothing new added. There was one downloadable character in the PlayStation 4 version that has been included right away in the Xbox version, but that's not enough to put up with everything else. The asking price is $20, but there will be a 20% discount for the first 2 weeks of release, but you can currently get the game on the Epic Game Store for only $6. They say that there's a lot to unlock, but is it really anything that you're going to care about? You're going to have a hard time convincing friends to play this, and playing online, who knows what that player pool will be like, especially since there's not going to be any crossplay. I was really excited at the prospect of playing a horror-themed fighting game, especially this time of year, and unfortunately I was just let down. With so many fighting game options on the Xbox One, it's going to be very difficult to recommend Omen of Sorrow to anybody, especially with many of those options coming in to be even cheaper. I'm hoping that this release is just so they can say that they've had it out on all platforms, and they can use the money to polish up some of their actual unique ideas for a much better sequel.
Counter! Counter!
With all that negativity out of the way, let's do something positive and thank our indie warriors. Mitchell Hall, Bunny, Kevilo, Bill T-Cast, Christian Cruz, Strychnine, Chris Jackson, Nathan Moore, Peach, Adriana Amato, CJR, PSC, C Coil, Skeptism, Jen Rose, Jesse, CPM, Julian Kolbis, and JRS the 8th. You are a great part of being able to make all of this possible, and we thank you so much for all of your support for us and all of indie gaming. If you would also like to support just like our indie warriors, all the information is in the description below. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, enjoy gaming.